Good morning, Simon Hacking from Harewood Travel. I've got Ross and Karen here from Ski Independence with me this morning, and we're talking about Canada. So for those of you who are looking to go to Canada, we're just going to have a conversation about some of the sort of things that you'd need to bear in mind, or some of the reasons that might make you want to go to Canada. I mean, I think every skier's heard about the very famous snow conditions, which we can only dream of having consistent conditions like that in Europe. But so let's talk about Canada. What would you see the advantages of going to Canada compared to Europe? How would you guys see that?
I think going to Canada gives you a really authentic experience. The landscapes are stunning no matter where you go. The journey through Canada is almost as part of your holiday, and the kind of friendly, warm welcome that you get from Canadians, again, no matter where you travel, is so welcoming. Service levels right through from the moment you arrive, through the ski resort, through the lift attendants, the restaurants on the mountain. There's just a really friendly, welcoming vibe throughout Canada.
Yeah, yeah,
The mountains are varied, the villages are varied, whether you want something pedestrianised, small, family friendly, or you want a vibrant, big resort, authentic mountain town. It's really got something for everyone. Packed with national parks. You really feel like you're kind of properly in Canada. You couldn't really be
yeah,
anywhere else.
I think
yeah,
another important thing is as well, just from a skiing perspective as well, is I think generally speaking, the various ski areas and resorts do a very good job of making things accessible to everyone. So for example, if you're a beginner, quite often if you go to the top of any given ski area, there will be a very clear marked easiest route down. So it makes it very accessible for beginners. If you are someone who's wanting to go and ski black runs all day until you can't anymore, then they do a very good job of kind of having good kind of well-maintained sort of ungroomed or off-piste things. And even though a lot of resorts will have services where you can go out with guides and such, and you can find out where the good snow conditions are on certain days, and makes going and venturing further a little bit into the more kind of like remote terrain and such very easy and very accessible as well. So I think in terms of just in making sure that there's something for everyone in ski areas in Canada, they do that exceptionally well too.
I think
So
that's a
where the
very interesting
difference would
point.
be,
Sorry, Karen.
no,
All
I
I
was
was
just
going to
going to
say
say
there
the
was,
difference is
yeah. Sorry, Britta. All I was going to say was, I think a lot of people have the perception it's very much intermediate and above skiing. It's very interesting you say about beginners there. Sorry, Karen, you were going to say.
no, just kind of linking on with that. The resorts in Canada are different in the way that you ski them than in
Yeah.
Europe. So
Why?
where in Europe you're very much kind of guided to make sure you're skiing down the pistes. Going off piste in Europe is sort of frowned upon. In Canada, the boundary for skiing inbounds essentially covers the entire ski area that you can
Right,
see. So you
right.
can ski off the side of the piste, you're still in bounds, and so it makes people who want to just try a little bit off
Yeah,
the
yeah.
side, you can go and do that, and you don't need to worry that you're kind of going out of bounds. You're still very much within the full kind of patrol ski area, so very accessible from that point of view for all abilities.
Obviously, I'm just sitting here thinking about me just going through the trees there. Just the way you described it is just because that's of course how skiers think, isn't it? Oh, cool! I could just go off piste and I'd be fine. That'd be
Yeah.
great, wouldn't it? But
Yeah.
no, that's really interesting to say. Just to go back to that point, just to go into a further thing. And I know if you think about Europe, one of the places people talk about if you want to be a beginner skier, they go to Austria because the tuition's so good. What's the tuition like in Canada generally? Is it pretty good?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say generally speaking, I myself actually used to work for the ski school in Whistler as
Right,
well.
right.
And I'd say like the attention to detail they take, and particularly with kids, which is what I worked with, the
Yeah,
attention to
yeah.
detail they take in making sure that everyone's safe, everyone's having a fantastic time, and everyone's receiving the level of tuition that they want. Because I think particularly once you get into things like private lessons and such, it becomes a lot more of a sort of tailored experience. Like you're
Yeah.
essentially hiring you're hiring someone from the ski school for a day, and then typically in the gondola on the way up, it'll be, so what do you want to do today? Are you looking for tips to improve your skiing? Are you wanting
Yep.
to go and find
Yep.
all the best restaurants on the mountain? Or are you wanting to find where the good snow is today? It's very tailored in that sense. So I'd
Yes.
say, generally speaking, the ski school experience, whether you want a private instructor or if you're wanting to drop your kids off to ski school and such, I'd say even with the feedback we get from clients and such, it is overwhelmingly positive, I would say.
What's
As
your
well, in Canada,
yeah?
you are tied into doing a block of, say, 6 morning lessons that you would book with a ski school. You can book group lessons for individual days. There's no restrictions on that.
Okay, more
Book a group
flexible.
lesson, then take a day and do your own thing. Book another group lesson for the following day. There's a huge flexibility on that, and I think the ski schools throughout Canada are really designed not just aimed at people learning to ski. They're aimed at everyone. Go and join an advanced group, go and join a camp, join a extremely Canadian clinic and go and ski some really steep stuff that you maybe wouldn't kind of do on
Yeah.
your own.
Yeah.
You're really encouraged to join it not just as a lesson, but just as an
Yes. Yes.
experience for the
Yes.
resort.
Oh, that's very different, isn't it? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just to go back to that just for a second. So, I mean, it's obviously a long way to fly to Canada. We'll talk about that in a second. But do you do many families? Because thinking about sort of, I don't know, children going to Canada, you think one, it's a long way, and as I say, I think the preconception would be that it's sort of intermediate and above top level skiing. It's very interesting you talk about a very tailored programs for children there. Do you get many families going? Because I think a lot of people think
Huge
more
amount.
Europe for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say a huge amount. It's like I say, typically with the ski school meeting points and being in, like, for example, in Whistler, it's right at the base of the gondola and such anyway.
Yeah.
It's a place
Yeah.
you're going to be anyway. So that it's made, things like that are made super convenient. In terms of kind of like accommodation and such as well, a lot of resorts, there's everything you want, from whether it be a larger hotel room or a suite, or you'll get like 2-bedroom condos and such in a lot of places and all that as well. It does a lot of accommodations very easily set up for families and such. So I would say, yeah, I'd say particularly probably around Easter sort of time, would say we get
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of people who look at going to the various places in Canada.
That's interesting because that kind of blows some myths in terms of, as I say, not just being intermediate and above, and not just being for like almost like solo skiers or so groups of really good skiers. There's obviously a really big mix there. It's certainly quite different from the preconception I had.
Yeah, definitely. We're probably 50% friends and couples and 50% families that are traveling to
Interesting.
Canada.
Interesting.
Some will maybe choose to kind of learn a bit closer to home and then go out to Canada and really kind of make the most of the kind of vast kind of ski areas. And others choose to go out there to learn to ski because the slopes are a bit quieter, the ski school is a bit more flexible, and they just like the kind of Canadian experience, I guess, of learning. And it's just preference. But yeah, it's all set up very well.
I'd say you're rewarded equally for whatever ability of skier
Yeah.
you are when you go to Canada. If you're a beginner, then you're very well looked after in ski schools and such. If you are sort of intermediate and above and you're wanting to push yourself a bit, then I'd say almost any given resort, there will be something for
Yeah.
you to get excited about.
Interesting. I know, just to move on from the sort of the actual skiing itself, which is the stuff you said, I think that is very interesting. But you're also saying about the sort of feel of the resorts and like nightlife in terms of restaurants and stuff. There's quite that again sets it Canada maybe a little bit apart from Europe. It's more about staying in hotels, but fewer people do even bed and breakfast. It's more about the eating out experience because there's lots of options. I think that's fair to say. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So really it's encouraged to be out and about. It's just what they do there. You'll get the odd place that includes breakfast, but really nowhere's including dinner because you want to be
Interesting.
out, enjoy the towns that you're going to and really kind of see everything that the resort's all about. So whether you wanted an authentic kind of mountain town, national park setting, you maybe want to go somewhere like Banff, where the mountains are just surrounding you, but there's Banff Avenue, which is just packed with restaurants, shops, bars
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
every type of cuisine you might want, every budget. Whether you want takeout one night, fine dining the next, like you'll find it. You'll find it in these towns. The smaller villages, even, you're still encouraged to be out in the village, go and try the go and try the pubs, go and try the nice restaurants, even if there's only a handful. They're all just kind of waiting to be explored. People aren't eating in as much as what they would in a kind of half board or maybe all inclusive kind of
So that's
property that
quite a
you might book
different
in Europe.
that's quite a different experience to Europe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so,
That's
definitely.
interesting.
I'd say like every now and again we do sort of get the question of, can we have this included with breakfast and such? And honestly, in a place like Banff or so, like Whistler, I'd include in this as well. It would almost be a shame to not go out and go to try all these like amazing new places. Because again, there's something for every taste and budget. And there's something nice about just kind of like finding a nice place for breakfast, whether it be just down the road from you or it just be like, it could even be in your hotel, depending on where you are. But yeah, there's something to be said, I think, for just like the wealth of options and such that you have for breakfast, dinner, all that sort of such, and going out and
Yeah.
experiencing all that sort of
So
thing.
you've got obviously quite a range of things to do, thinking about the slopes in terms of types of skiing, in terms of types of people they're trying to attract there, in terms of the actual skiing itself. What about length of season? What is that similar to Europe, where it's sort of January to March? How does that sort of stack up, really?
So the seasons in Canada are generally much longer. The big destinations, they really want to try and be open for Thanksgiving, which is at the end of November if they
Wow.
can.
Yeah.
But really, the main kind of season is going to run December right through until kind of mid to end of April. Some places even skiing past that into May.
Is that just
Um,
that they're more northerly in the world, or is it because the resorts are quite high? What's the You obviously got
It's
snow
not
long.
necessarily, yeah, not necessarily altitude. I think it's just the climate. And Whistler certainly gets a lot of precipitation coming in with it being more of a coastal destination. And then when you're over in Banff, there's just a much kind of drier climate. It holds the snow so well. The temperature stays fairly consistent.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it just allows the season just to kind of stretch right
Okay.
through. Banff even did a couple of weeks open in July this year
Does it?
because they had so much snowfall this winter, just as a little kind of summer ski experience. So it makes April kind of time really popular for families traveling over Easter when it's a bit better value. Travel over Easter and you can still get out there and experience the resort
Yeah.
in full.
Yeah. And I know you do, I think it's at least one resort on the east side. Is it the same
Yes.
sort of seasonality there? Is it as long, or is it a bit shorter, or?
A bit shorter, yeah. So Tremblant is in the east, which is in Quebec. The season there is a bit shorter. You'd travel there probably kind of mid December, kind of Christmas time, maybe through until usually around like Easter time. If Easter kind of falls in the first kind of couple of weeks of April, would be our recommended time that you would go to Tremblant.
Right, okay, a
But
bit
it's
shorter.
certainly not much shorter. You maybe just want to stay just in the kind of main core of the season, kind of December through to
Yeah.
mid-April.
We talked a little bit about temperature before. I mean, talk about, obviously West Coast first, West Coast of Canada. It's, you said, because again, I think it has that reputation, particularly Whistler, somewhere like that, occasionally being very cold. And what's that? Is that, it's not a consistent thing then?
No, I wouldn't say it's consistent. It has happened. I mean, I've definitely skied in sub -20 or so before in Whistler before. Those are generally sort of like cold snaps that you
Yeah,
get.
but
They're
just for
not.
short periods.
Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
just have it'll just be like however the pressure is working in a given week or so. But yeah, sometimes you will get temperatures that do plummet fairly rapidly. I would say, generally speaking, it's never really for long. I'd say also as well, just from my own experience, I'd say typically that's probably most common in January, and then once you get past that, I certainly haven't seen it very much at all. But it's not something I would be concerned about if
Okay.
you
So
go
similar
like.
to Europe in that sense, because of course you get not quite as cold in Europe, but you do get very cold days in Europe. So it sounds like, again, just thinking about a comparison, it's in that sense, it's a little bit colder, but not so much that you'd sort of really bring it in as a consideration.
And
So
and
another
the
big thing.
resorts,
Sorry.
like I said, the resorts know it's something that can happen as well in terms of like they're very well set up for kind of like having people inside and people maybe aren't going to do as many runs. For example, when I was teaching kids out there as well, it would be if you did get temperatures that low on a particular day, it would be a case of basically do a run, come in, get hot chocolate, and kind of repeat that for a day and such. Like they know it's a thing that can happen, and they're all very well set up for it. But like I say, it's not really a concern that's going to stop you going or anything like that.
Okay. So another thing that, a frustration in Europe can be at particular times is lengths of the lengths to get on the chairs or the lifts or whatever. I mean, what is it like in Canada? How are the resorts run? Is it smoother? Is it similar to Europe? Do you get peaks and troughs, or is it just a lot better run?
So, like anywhere, there's going to be the kind of odd time, maybe over some holidays, that it's a bit busier just at the start of the day. But once you're up and you're kind of well into your day, the lift lines are not as much of a concern in Canadian resorts. They're well managed. People take their turn. It's a pleasant experience if you do have
They
to
take
stand in
their
a queue.
turn. Wow, that's different.
In places like Banff, the resorts that you're skiing there, you are very unlikely to be standing in a lift line. Jasper at Marmot Basin, Sun Peaks, for example, standing in a lift line would be a surprise to people there.
Right.
It's just not something that happens.
That's a
The
big
resorts are
advantage, isn't
very
it?
well designed and people just flow
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
That's a excuse me. That's quite a difference in terms of how it sounds like it's managed, but also in terms of the politeness. I know you were saying that people are like the Canadian people. When you go to the resorts, everybody's very friendly, everybody's very happy to help, and all this kind of stuff. And I suppose a little bit of that helps because, of course, we all speak the language. Unless you go to the East Coast, where I suppose they speak French.
A little bit. Yeah.
We won't
Generally
talk about
English,
that.
but yeah, a
Um,
bit.
Only because you have the one resort on the East Coast and the bulk of the resorts are on the West Coast. Another
Yeah.
thing that is a consideration, I think, for people is obviously distance. And what would your advice be to people in terms of length of stay?
I'd say generally speaking, I mean, obviously just with the length of flights and such, like to get over to Vancouver, say for Whistler, you'd be looking at around about a 9 hour flight. Doesn't lend itself to a short break, which is completely fair. I'd say generally speaking, we get people that would probably be going for a little bit longer than a week. I'd say probably 10 nights is pretty standard. And that's a good time to kind of like, once you land, you have the period adjusting to the time difference and such. And then, let's say 10 days, I think gives you enough time to kind of get over that and then kind of enjoy being a little bit further away for a good amount of time. I'd say
Yeah, yeah,
10 days, 2 weeks is quite common as well. But I'd say generally speaking, the trips are a little bit longer.
okay, okay, because you need to take into account one, obviously, there's the length of the flight, and two, you've got the sort of time difference. And I think the difference is something like 8 hours to Whistler. We were saying before, it's roughly that. So you need probably a day or two to adjust to that in the first place.
About that, yeah, I'd say. But on the flip side of that, with the traveling west, you are actually, with the way your body clock's working, chances are you probably are getting up a bit earlier, which means you can get on the slopes
Yeah.
sooner.
Yeah,
So
which is never a bad thing in skiing, is it? You just
yeah,
you just need the lifts to be working on time, and then you're
for
good. You're up
sure.
the mountain.
Yeah.
That's all that matters, isn't it? Okay,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. I think that gives us like a general view of Canada. I don't know if are there any other points that you'd make? Any other things you think we've missed, or things that you think people should know about if they're thinking about planning on going to Canada?
I think it's just about making the most of the time that you're there. If you've got that extra couple of days that you can take it. You're making a longer journey. There are some really vibrant cities that you can pair. We have lots of people that will add on a few nights in Vancouver, for
Right.
example. They
Yes.
might stay
Yes.
in Montreal for a couple of nights, either to break up the journey on the way there, or go and do the skiing first, come back, have a couple of days in the city. Really make the most of your
Yes.
trip.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be all about the skiing. Take a day off, for example. Do another activity while you're there. If you're in Alberta, get out and do a kind of national park tour or something while you're there.
Yes.
The whole trip doesn't have to be only skiing. You can
Yes.
do so
Yes.
many other things.
Look, I think that's really interesting. I mean, conclusion, certainly, look, I'm not just saying this because I'm interviewing you, but it certainly changed some of my perceptions of it. And as I say, the point of this is if someone's thinking about Canada, I think there's some very sort of clear differentiators there to Europe. I think the final thing is, again, just talking about value. How would you say, because people might perceive Canada to be, of course, it's a longer flight, that would tend to be more expensive, but how would you perceive Canada to be against Europe? Is it I guess it's not as expensive as Switzerland, but maybe a bit more than France. What's the sort of how's it pan out there?
It's quite hard to compare, I think,
Yeah.
because you're booking things that are more on kind of room-only basis. While your flights are a bit longer, a bit more expensive, not drastically if you're traveling over peak times. the accommodation, they generally offer pretty good value.
Yes.
And a big thing for traveling to Canada is early booking offers. And booking early secures you huge discounts. And so if you're booking early, you're getting the best value for the trip. So what if you've kind of skied in Europe previously and you're thinking about going to Canada? I wouldn't be in the mindset of, right, this is going to be a really big, expensive trip.
So
It
it's
doesn't have
similar,
to be like that at all. Yeah.
but it's
Yeah, I'd
similar
say
because it
generally,
kind of stacks up in a different way. Because, like you say,
Yeah.
you probably do
yeah.
half board in Europe, at least half board, and in Canada,
Mhm.
you probably would. You just do room only, wouldn't you?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So okay. Look, I think that's interesting. Look, I think for me, it's been very interesting, and thank you very much indeed for your time talking to you. I think it lays out for people what are the key things about going to Canada, and what we'll do in future episodes. We'll talk about the USA, but we'll also talk about some of the resorts in Canada. So for now, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.